Welcome to my presentation. I'm Toby, known as 99 of 9. I've been editing across various wiki projects since 2004. I mostly started on the English Wikipedia and then took up encyclopedic photography on Commons, but recently have shifted focus to Wikidata in a fairly big way. Here's a couple of my pictures. I like to think of the wiki community like a coral community. You are what makes me beautiful. I'm one of many in the hive mind, and we are best when we're working together and relying on one another's work. Today's aim is to get you all to install and benefit from my browser extension, Entity Explosion, so that you can enhance and navigate the web using Wikidata without ever visiting Wikidata. So here's my one-liner on what Entity Explosion does. While reading a website, discover links and information about the same topic on other sites with a single click. You don't have to be an expert at Wikidata for this. In fact, you don't even need to know that Wikidata exists. And it works in every language, so please do share. You've probably heard that Wikidata is the Rosetta Stone of the internet. This edict, translated into 3 languages, allowed archaeologists to decipher the ancient Egyptian scripts. Wikidata allows that not just with languages, but also across identifiers and websites. So today, I'm going to put that stone in your pocket. Roughly 90% of properties in Wikidata are identifiers, but they do very little inside the database. Their value is to connect to external sites and connect them to one another. And in this way, Wikidata is the backbone, the central hub of the internet. So, for example, in chemistry, we have a different online database for all different kinds of measurements of a molecule. But if you're on the crystal structure website, how do you find that exact same molecule in the thermal properties database? Well, we're going to find out that EE, Entity Explosion, solves this problem in one click. Here's what database linking looks like on an internet scale. This is the linked open data cloud, where the points represent structured linked databases, and the connections are the connections between those databases. Wikidata can have links to as many of these as we like, and is quickly becoming the central repository of identifiers. The way this is done on Wikidata is by making a property for each database we link to, and listing things like the formatter URL. You can see that down here. For example, a YouTube property has youtube.com/channel/$1 to indicate the value of this identifier, which gets put in to give the whole URL string for a particular item identified. That URL string is what Entity Explosion uses, but in reverse. So let me show you how the browser extension works. When you're browsing around and come across a site that Wikidata has links to, the Entity Explosion icon up here in the top of your browser will light up red. When you click it, so you actually go onto this icon, it sends the URL to the Wikidata query system to find out whether there's a Wikidata item with this exact value of the identifier. If so, it returns a stack of information about the item. So here's an example of the pop-up. In this case, it's about the Australian curiosity, the platypus. Here's another example. If you were on Spotify and came across this Australian musician, you could again click onto the browser extension. This time I've set my language to Chinese, and we see all of these same Wikidata items and data, but it has been translated now into Chinese. These interface and property translations are themselves from Wikidata. You can try this out on all kinds of databases, almost anything you're interested in: people, places, organizations, publications, organisms, etc. Here are some of the specific sites you might use. For example, you might want to find out who some prominent person on Twitter really is. For the Wikipedians here, it also works from almost all Wikimedia sites. So it's a really quick way of cross-checking your article with Wikidata. Hopefully you're convinced. I might have a moment at the end to show you a live example, but first let me tell you how to get involved. I made this because I want Wikidata to be useful to you all. It's free, open source, works in every language, protects your privacy, and is improved every time you edit Wikidata. So you are already improving this. Here's the nitty-gritty of how the extension works. So if any of you want to help improve the software, please do let me know. What I'd appreciate most from all of you who install it is a review, especially in other languages, because this seems to be the thing that attracts the most attention in the extension stores. I mentioned that you improve entity explosion every time you edit Wikidata. Thank you. But if you want to help even more, here are some of my top tips. I guess I view this as a virtuous cycle because users of entity explosion will naturally want to improve Wikidata, and users of Wikidata, I hope, will be convinced to use entity explosion. There are some tips on how you can help, but I'll go through a couple of final tips because I do have a couple of minutes left. I care a lot about identifiers, obviously, and so I do want to just show you a survey methodology I have for how I conceive of integrating an institution's metadata with Wikidata, and hence integrating it with entity explosion. It might be a little bit hard to read on your screen, but it lays out some checkpoints along the way and allows you to do a bit of an audit on how your country's institutions are going. If you want the details of this, they're in the slides, which are linked from the Etherpad, and I'll answer questions on the Etherpad at the end. Because Entity Explosion was a lockdown project, I've made a habit of putting up and updating this slide in all my presentations since COVID started. The aim is to show solidarity amidst our diversity. Wikimania is the best for this. My country has been doing well on both Wikidata properties and COVID-19 cases, but right now COVID is almost at the worst we've had it. And I'm actually talking to you from the second lockdown in Sydney. But the point is, we're all facing these challenges as a team effort, and we're all in it together. So there are some acknowledgements. And in the last minute, I'd love to just show you this working real time. So I'll give you two quick examples. One is on iNaturalist. Remember this fly that I love because it has the image of Entity Explosion's logo on its wing. Well, I saw one of these flies in my backyard. This was it. I got a nice photo. If I want to know more about this type of fly, I can go up to the taxon bar, the taxon thing, and I can actually click Entity Explosion here, see what it tells me about this genus of fly. And you can see some examples there. We might go off to another site, Bug Guide, and see over here what is this looking like, and we might be able to identify it. So please contact me or continue the conversation over on the Unconference. I'll come into this room very soon. I think that's all from me. So thank you for watching and thank you for participating. Bye for now.